Welcome back to Ego and Empathy, the podcast where we explore the psychology behind human behavior and the subtle ways it shapes our lives. I'm your host, Mandy, and today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood personalities in the world of psychology and human relationships: the dark empath. Now, the name itself sounds mysterious, almost intriguing, doesn't it? Someone who's both empathic and dark, someone who can feel your emotions but somehow use them against you. And that's exactly what makes this personality so dangerous. Because while empathy is usually associated with kindness and compassion, in the hands of someone with dark traits, it becomes a weapon. So what exactly is a dark empath? A dark empath is someone who does have the ability to read and understand the emotions of others, but lacks the compassion or conscience that normally guides empathy toward good. They use emotional awareness not to connect, but to control. They know what you feel, they understand what you need. And instead of nurturing that, they manipulate it to their advantage. Unlike the typical narcissist who seems unaware of how others feel, the dark empath is acutely aware. They can sense when you're hurt, when you're insecure, or when you're most open. They may even appear comforting, calm, and deeply attentive. But beneath that calm exterior lies intent, and that intent is self-serving. They use empathy as strategy. This type of person often combines traits from what psychologists call the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. So they crave admiration, they strategize manipulation, and they lack guilt. But their empathy gives them an advantage that most narcissists don't have. They can read the room and adjust their behavior to appear human. That makes them harder to detect and, often, more convincing than a traditional narcissist. For example, imagine you share a vulnerable story with someone, and they respond with deep understanding, maybe even tears. You feel seen, comforted, connected. But later, they use those same details to hurt you, to make you feel weak, or to get what they want. That's a dark empath at work. They gather emotional information like ammunition. And when the time is right, they use it with precision. Another example: a dark empath might appear to defend you in public, making others see them as your protector. While privately, they criticize and belittle you. They know how to keep you dependent, always second-guessing whether they're your savior or your destroyer. It's emotional confusion by design. The reason the dark empath is so dangerous is because of how subtle they are. They don't trigger alarm bells immediately. In fact, many people are drawn to them because they seem emotionally intelligent. They mirror your feelings perfectly, making you believe you found someone who truly understands you. But understanding is not the same as caring. They understand, but they don't care. They calculate. So how does someone become a dark empath? Usually, it's a combination of nature and nurture. Some may have learned from early experiences that emotions equal control. Maybe they grew up in an environment where vulnerability was unsafe. So they developed empathy as a way to predict and manipulate others' behavior to protect themselves. Others may have been naturally empathic. But over time, trauma and insecurity twisted that sensitivity into strategy. Instead of using empathy to connect, they use it to dominate. If you ever find yourself around someone who seems too intuitive, who reads your emotions like a book, but somehow leaves you feeling drained or uneasy afterward, pay attention to that feeling. True empathy leaves you lighter, safer, more connected. Dark empathy leaves you confused, guilty, and small. It's not warmth, it's control dressed as understanding. So how can you protect yourself? The key is emotional boundaries. Don't reveal too much too soon. Notice whether their empathy leads to action or manipulation. A true empath will honor your feelings without needing to use them. A dark empath will store them like data, waiting for the right moment to use them as leverage. You must also trust your body. Your nervous system knows when something isn't safe, even before your mind does. If you feel constantly watched, studied, or subtly criticized, take that as a warning sign. Empathy without compassion is not kindness, it's control with a smile. And if you recognize someone like this in your life, remember, you don't need to diagnose them. You only need to decide what level of access they deserve to you. Distance is protection, silence is power, and indifference is freedom. As we close today's episode, I want you to reflect on this. Empathy is a gift, but it's also responsibility. It's not just about understanding others, it's about using that understanding for good. A dark empath chooses power over peace, but you don't have to. Protect your light, honor your intuition, and never let emotional intelligence be used as a weapon against you. Thank you for listening to Ego and Empathy. Take a moment today to think about the kind of empathy you bring into the world. Is it healing, or is it control? Because when empathy is pure, it doesn't need to manipulate. It simply understands, accepts, and lets go.